Alright, so welcome. Based on request, I have been asked to give a little guidance on setting up a brand new computer system for ProPresenter. We use it at our church, and we just happened to have come across a new one today. Went to the Apple Store and picked up one of these guys, the Mac Studio. Just went with the base model. It's the M2 Max. 32 gigs of RAM, the 512 storage, just the basic guy. So with this, we do intend to be able to run quite a bit. Here at our regional campus, we have an external GPU. We use the DeckLink card with the 8 inputs or outputs. We've also, at some of the campuses, used the DeckLink card with 4. You can use any of these. What I'm going to do in this particular situation is just like set things up with placeholder views and try to talk through how and why we do things the way that we do. So this is just a duct tape style, throw something together quick. So sorry for the production value. Literally you're an iPhone sitting on my counter, and I am actually recording and streaming this through ProPresenter on a different computer. So we'll see. Things may foul up. Hopefully this helps though. Alright, so without further ado, I have plugged in the Mac Studio. We've got, actually let me power it up. Whoops. Sorry. Okay. Plugged in the Mac Studio. We've got a keyboard and a mouse attached to it. I've got a display attached to it. I'm going to power it up now. And hopefully we'll be able to see the screen as we go. So this will be a first time startup. Let's just see what we get. No video yet. Oh, here we go. Alright, so you could probably fast forward through this part, but this is going to be just the basic setup of getting things started. So might as well start from the beginning if we're going to start anywhere. Choose our language. Choose our location. I think if we hover here for a second, it will bring up United States. Great. Continue. We don't need this. Continue. We're not going to transfer, so I'm going to choose not now. We don't need an Apple ID. We'll choose setup later and skip. Agree to terms and conditions. Otherwise, what's the point of buying this? Okay, so our full name. I'm just going to start with production user. We'll see if that works. Basic account. Now this is a local account. In the future, through Mercy Hill, what we do, we have a mobile device management. That won't hit until tomorrow because I bought this at the Apple Store and it takes a day for it to get logged into our business management account. But for now, I'm just going to create a local user. This will get us by for the day, and then in the future, I'll make modifications based off of the MDM. So we'll keep on moving here. Alright, so it's asking me to enable location services. I actually don't need that, although in the future, if it's needed, we can turn it back on. One thing location services does is it lets you set it based off set your time, and it wants this. So instead, I'm just going to select an area nearby us, choose continue. I don't really care to share any analytics. We'll move on. I don't need screen time. We're moving on. Trying my best to get through this, and of course, the best feature in the production booth is the dark mode, so we're going for that. Keyboard setup assistant. It doesn't know what my keyboard is, so I'm going to try to teach it. It doesn't know what it is, so we're just going to keep on going. Hopefully it'll let me keep on going. Skip. Yeah, there we go. ANSI American. Yeah, I guess this is going to be it. Let's hope our keyboard works. Alright, so we're up and running with the basic Mac OS. So first step, since we are planning on using this with ProPresenter, is we're going to go to the website and download ProPresenter. So let's pop in here. We'll just use Safari for now. renewedvision.com. Go to download for ProPresenter. Download only is in your lower left corner, and we're downloading for the Mac. If you've got a Windows system, obviously everything you saw up until now is going to be different. I am hardwired to Ethernet, although my the other end of that Ethernet cable is a T-Mobile hotspot, so it's not necessarily going to be our fastest, but it looks like I'm getting a pretty good download speed here. Alright, we've got the file. I'm going to pop into our downloads, and we're going to just drop this into our applications folder, and ProPresenter in our applications folder, just right click and open. It's just asking for some authentication. Use your typical user account info there. Grant permissions as needed. We can clear all these guys out. There's some tutorials built in. We're going to skip all that with ProPresenter. It's asking me for my screen information. So my audience screen, I'm just going to do a new placeholder. Now, if you have a specific output already designed for your situation, you can actually choose your specific output. So that might be, if you have a DeckLink card with 4 outputs, you might choose the first of those 4 outputs. If you're using just a HDMI feed directly to a monitor sitting next to you or on stage or whatever, this is where you're going to choose that. So let's take a look. In the options, initially when you're setting up that audience screen, it just identifies that I've got one screen connected right now, and it shows here. If I had multiple screens, we'd see 2 large blocks here. Since I don't have any screens plugged in, we're placeholder, doing a placeholder option. We'll just choose our typical 1080p. Now we are also going to do some stage screens. We don't have to set that up right now though, so I'm going to leave that blank so we can get to it later. Choose continue. We are a house of worship. We don't care about reports and analytics. Continue. I don't need any sample content. We actually use a different service for that. So now here we are. We're up and running. This is your typical ProPresenter layout. We can see there's just one screen set up, and we have a preview for that screen over here on the right. We've got our library, which is empty. There are no items in it. We have a single playlist is also empty. This is the just the vanilla ProPresenter setup. Let me go ahead and I'll shrink my dock here, get a little bit more screen real estate. Although with the resolution of my screen that's sitting in front of me, I'm not 100% sure you're going to be able to see everything with detail. I apologize if the screen size is prohibitive to your success here, but hopefully you get the idea. That's kind of what we're going for. First thing I want to do is go ahead and set up additional screens. So if we go into your screens pull-down menu, we can then configure screens. And you can see here, screen 1 was our first placeholder. Let's go ahead and give that screen 1 a title. So this is going to be primary on stage, or maybe primary projection. Let's call it projection, right? Okay. And we can rename the placeholder as well if we wanted to. It really doesn't matter what you put in here. In fact, I'll just do it like that. We're going to turn on our audience display. These on and offs allow for you to do some you can do some stuff in the background without everybody else in the room seeing it. Now let's also say we want a second audience display. This audience display, again, I'll just use a placeholder, but placeholder does work for this. If you do a live stream, you want a live stream output and you're going to actually use the ProPresenter streaming features, you can use a placeholder in this spot to actually hold your live stream, and you can do everything without having an additional monitor. I'm going to go ahead and put one here. Just let's assume we're going to do a live stream, right? So putting in another screen. I realized you weren't on the screen when I did that. All I did was I selected placeholder and I selected the 1920 by 1080 just like what we did before. And I'm going to call this one live stream. Pardon the spelling. I'm just trying to get right through this really fast. Or capitalization, I guess I should say. Again, these are placeholders, so there's no actual outputs happening, but you can make those outputs if you want. We also want a stage display, so we're going to add another placeholder for that. If you have already, again, if you got your DeckLink card or whatever outputs selected, go ahead and choose those. Now your stage display doesn't have to have high resolution, it just needs to be visible for your presenters on stage. I'm going to go ahead and go with a 1280 by 720 on that guy, and we'll just call this confidence. Confidence. And we can rename it here too. It makes it a little easier along the way. Alright, so now we've got 3 screens set up. 2 of them, or 1 primary projector, one confidence display that your band and your presenters on stage can see, that you'll hopefully mount in the back of the room facing the stage. And then you've got a live stream output. I'll show you kind of the tricky stuff you can do with that. So that's our initial setup. We're going to close out our screen configuration. And now if we look over here to our preview, we can see a preview of each of these screens separately. Yeah, let's go ahead and make a new presentation. And we're just going to call this Jelly. I don't know. It doesn't matter what it's called. You set your settings there. We have an item. I'm going to edit this slide just so we have something to look at. We're going to put a shape on there. We'll just do something like this. Real basic. We're going to add text. And we'll just say, welcome to this new Mac Studio. Whatever. Simple. I will say one thing I don't have here available to me is my fonts that I use internally at Mercy Hill. That is something you would want to add at some point very soon, hopefully before you even get to this stage of the setup, because as you're creating new slides, you're going to want to use the fonts that we use. Mooley for teaching fonts and Gotham for any of our worship fonts. Those are things that we just, we don't have. I don't have it on the computer yet. Again, just trying to get through as quick as we can. All right, so we have created a slide. We'll go to our show. If I click on that slide, it's going to be presented, hopefully. I got nothing. It's not even showing that it's selected. Okay. Technical problems already. We've barely even gotten started. Turn off our audience display. Tell you what, let's quit ProPresenter. Here's my theory. We just set up multiple screens, and ProPresenter may just need to have a reset. So let's see. So we quit ProPresenter. We'll open it again. Let's see if we get any better results. Oh yes, I clicked slide. It's showing. Now we're seeing it on the primary projection. We're also seeing it on the live stream. And our confidence, it shows this. This is just a basic confidence display. So for right now, our two main outputs are showing the exact same thing. Our rear output is showing something different. Let's talk about that confidence display really quick. So we want this to be laid out in a way that is helpful for the folks on stage to be able to view. In order to make a new layout for this, we actually go under Screens and Edit Layouts. And this is the layout that they're getting. So if we have a current slide, the text for that slide is showing here. The next slide text would be down below. Actually, let's just do a copy, paste. And now you can see there is a next slide, so that next slide text is showing down here. Again, sorry, I'm just moving fast. Hopefully you're keeping up. Down here below, they have a segment countdown timer. They have the system clock and a video countdown timer. These are all things that you can see from the stage. We're going to go ahead and create a new a layout, and you can see there are some that are already here presented to us. Let's just start with blank, because I feel like that's the best way to go. So this blank layout is, we get some options. So the plus button allows for us to create a current slide, next slide, a screen preview. We've got various things. Obviously there's so much to dig in here, we're not going to get to a lot of it. But what I do want to do is just going to give you the basic setup. So I'm going to start with a rectangle. I know it's crazy, but I need to create some dividers. So I've just reshaped this to create a bit of a divider. I'm going to give myself a new shape. And this one will come down here. Let's see which buttons. There we go. All right, and you can color those if you want to. That's your choice. I know that I'm going to want the system clock somewhere on this screen. So I think the ideal place for the system clock is going to be top left. All right, and let's go ahead and increase our font size. Now down here in the lower right, you can say how you want that displayed, and so it could be with the PM indicator, it could be Eastern time, so on and so forth. You can even include the seconds if you want that. Yeah, let's go and include seconds. Makes sense. 24-hour clock if you need it. So anyway, there's that. So we got a system clock, and actually I'm gonna shrink that a little bit. We're gonna add another system clock. This time our format is actually going to be just with the date. And we'll take the time off. And so now we actually have this cool corner that shows us, or shows the presenter, a little bit more about date and time. So that's all there. We also use Planning Center at our campuses, so I'm going to add a, let's see, Planning Center Live. Now, Planning Center Live, it shows this grid that's kind of grayed out. You don't see any information on it. The reason is because Planning Center gets its information from a website. It's actually just going out and loading a website, and that website fills up this little section here. So I'm going to go ahead and put our Planning Center clock here. I'm not planning on linking Planning Center in this tutorial, but just assume that this area here is going to have a Planning Center clock if that's one that you use. And then in this top corner, we're going to put a countdown video countdown timer. Now the video countdown timer, it looks just like a clock, but the advantage of this is if you're playing like a bumper video before your sermon, or you're playing a story video at any point, and people on stage need to have a sense of how long that video is or how long is left, this timer is actually going to show that. So let's increase our size. We want to ignore looping videos, so if you have like a video background, one of those just canned videos that every 30 seconds it loops ahead. Well, we don't need to show that countdown timer because it's not relevant, but so this gives us the option to ignore those looping videos. We can also change what we're showing on there. So I don't need the fractions of a second. We're just going to get rid of that. But I would like to have, I guess, minutes and seconds. We don't need hours at all. We'll clear that out. And so it's just going to be minutes and seconds. We're going to fill this guy up pretty large. That way everybody can tell exactly how long this video has. Now these sections I put down below, this is for our current slide and our next slide. And so we're going to assume this view here to be like during teaching, right? And during teaching, we need to have our slides showing text only. And so our current slide text is going to pop in here. Let's go ahead and resize so we fit. Now you might have to work on padding and things like that once you get this sorted, but you can do things like aligning it to the top, aligning it to the center. You can do left justified or centered, however you prefer on that. Your text can be adjusted, and then most importantly, under scaling, you can have it not scale this text. So let's say you had a Bible verse with almost a paragraph long. Let's say it's one of those Bible verses. That could be a lot of information to put in here, and if it was a small text, then it may even need to be smaller because of how much information it is. So you can have the text go down. The text down means it's going to scale a large size text to a smaller font size in order to fit on screen. You can also do text up. So let's say in a situation like this where we only have 3 words and we want it to be as visible as possible, text up, it scales that text to a larger size in order to allow for it to be as large as possible. We use this particular format like if we're doing a service outside, maybe the stage display, or just maybe not even outside, just in a place where there's not an ideal place for that stage display. It has to be too far away from you and the screen's really small. We can do that scale up. Text up, and it will make the text as big as it can possibly be to fit on the screen. So you got options like that. You can do text up or down, so it does either or. So basically right now I'm just going to say no text scaling, but just know that that's there because it's important. Next on the right side, we're going to do a next slide text, and so we'll go ahead and pop this guy in here. And let's go ahead and scale this up a little bit. And just to give it a little bit of a different look, I'm gonna shade it orange just so we can tell. Next slide is orange, the current slide is white. You can also do things like you might want the capitalization to always be caps. So no matter what format the presentation is made, it always displays in caps. That might be helpful. Who knows? You set it up the way you want it. And so now I've finished building my teaching stage display. I'm going to go back to the show. And on my next thing is under screens, you can see our confidence display is set currently to this slide layout, and I can actually change my confidence display to the teaching slide layout. And so now that's how you would select what is going to be displayed on that monitor. Another place where you can do that is right here, this icon. This is supposed to be an icon of a podium with a guy standing behind the podium. That's your stage display. And so you can see here that we can change what stage display they see based off of what we select in this menu. And so now as we click through our slides, we start to see these things are updating. I also mentioned you're not going to see the Planning Center clock until we actually have a live timer going. Just know that it's there because we built it to be there. All right, so there's that. While I'm here, just real quick, I'm going to make an edit to this slide just so that we can see there's some differences. So I'm sorry for that. We'll go great. Okay. And maybe I should change the text to say something new. ProPresenter is cool. All right. So now we've got current and next, current, and there's nothing next. Another view that you may want for your layouts, so we go under screens and edit layouts. I'm going to copy this guy or duplicate it. I'll rename it, and this is going to be live announcements. So this is when the guy's on stage trying to remember his script and he doesn't really know what's in the script. But during our announcements, pretty much everything that we show on the screens is a slide. It's not text, although there might be text on the slide. It's actually an image that we're displaying. And so sometimes it's easier for us to give the presenter an actual view of the live screen or the actual image instead of the text, because you can imagine if there is no text, what's he going to preview? So what we're going to do now is we're going to change our slides to actually indicate a preview properly. All right, so one thing we can do is select this current slide text window, and you can see you could change things based off of this, but you don't see a preview of the current slide. Only get current slide text as an option. All right, so we're going to actually delete this this item here. We'll go to our plus button, and we're going to go current slide preview image. Okay, when we do that, you can see we get this cross-hatching again. I'm going to go ahead and fill it in to this whole space here. Now, although actually it probably needs to be more proper aspect ratio. So let's do 480, 720 by 480. And then now that we've got it in there, I'm just going to hold the shift button and scale this guy proportionally to fit in this section. So this is going to be actually an image of whatever the current slide is. We also need one for the next slide, so I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to go next slide, preview image. And since we've got some guidelines here, I can trust that the guidelines are going to give me proper aspect ratio because it's locking it in to match the other side. All right, so now we've made a small change here. If we go back to our main window, we can change our confidence display to now look at that layout view differently. And so the current slide is showing on the left as a full slide. The next slide is showing on the right, and so now we've got something that just looks a little bit different. We could show you later how we do macros to change this, but I just wanted you to see you can set up layouts to do whatever you want. Now if we go and look at our primary projection, again we're just back to a simple view, and so that's how we like it. Now one thing I wanted to also show that we find to be helpful is there's a lot of space over here that can be used for viewing some of your data. Right, so I'm going to go into screens and configure screens. I'm going to create a new stage screen because I need to use a layout. Stage screens use layouts, audience screens use looks, and we'll get into looks here in a second. But just know if it's going to have a layout, we need to use the stage screen option. So I'm going to add another placeholder. This time I'm going to do a custom size. All right, and so I want it to be really tall. So we did 1280 by 720 on that last one. Let's make it, whoops. Let me give it a name first, I'm sorry. I'm going to call it multi-view. And it's going to be 1280 wide. And let's make it 1500 high. Okay, so it's kind of a tall, odd little tall thing. And so now we have a screen, a stage screen. We can rename it here. Multi-view, and you can see as I was updating it here, it also updated down here in the stage display section, which is important. So we can close out of that. Your confidence display is always going to show what it is here based off of your selection. Your multi-view screen, which we can view here, is going to show something different. And in this case, the scaling is so weird it's not showing properly, but get the idea that we can actually have a different multi-view filling up this space. All right, so now let's go and create a new layout. New layout. We'll make it blank. It shows up here. I'll call it multi-view. Right. And if we go over to the right, we can see our size. This little exclamation mark tells us something doesn't work right. And so I want my screen size to be different. Stage screen 1 is, which actually it should show multi-view there, but I must not have renamed it. But that's our 1280 by 1500. Now we get this crazy format here, and this is where things get fun. You can put anything you want in here. Let's go ahead and do a screen preview of our primary projection. And to get our aspect ratio right, I'm just going to go ahead and type in something that's 16 by 9. Pop this guy somewhere up in here. Hold shift while I scale. Okay, that got to be pretty big. It's actually going to be way too big for what I need. Let me bring it back down. We'll just center this guy up here. Okay, so this is our primary projection screen. Let's label it. We'll put a text in here. And this will be primary or projection. Alright, let's drop that label right up here above it. I know this is ugly. Just imagine things are going to be pretty if you spend more time. Then I'm going to do a screen preview of our confidence display. Let's go ahead and actually I'll just use our guides to match. Okay. Put this guy down here. Let's copy, paste. Oh, or duplicate. Stage display, or confidence, I'm sorry. Alright, so you can imagine what we're going to get now. If I go back into my show view and I change my multi-view display to be multi-view, well, now what I get is a preview of both the front screen and the back screen. Let's make this a little bit cleaner. Edit layouts, go to our multi-view. Let's go ahead and throw a rectangle in here. Don't worry about color right now. I'm going to drop the rectangle behind everything on my layers and bring my view back. Whoops, fit. There we are. All right, so super bright. Actually, I can't stand the bright. Let's go ahead and darken it up a little bit. But if you can imagine now, we actually can see things a little bit better. The other thing that we can see is there's some transparency around our slide, and I would really like to know where that guide is. So we'll go back into our screens, edit layouts, multi-view layout, and let's go ahead and just add some more shapes. This shape is going to be the exact same size as this screen. We'll make it black. Let's duplicate that. We'll put one right behind, or it's currently on top, but these two rectangles, we just want to drag them down above our background so they're behind the preview. Now we are starting to get something more. Now, in this particular setup, remember when we did our screens, I configured one screen to be a live stream. So let's get to a place where we can view that too. So edit layouts, multi-view. We're going to take, actually let me lock our background so I'm not selecting it when I do all this. Let's move projection over. Let's move confidence. I don't know. I'm a little confused as to how I'm going to do all this. We'll just do an itty bitty screen preview of the live stream. We'll just throw this guy in here. Not position, size. Let's scale this guy way down. This is going to be our little live stream view right over here. Duplicate that. Boom. Oh, I forgot to put the black behind it. Oh, edit, screens, layout. We need a shape. Make that black. Drop it down layer-wise somewhere in here. All right, now we can see our live screen, our projection screen, our live stream, our confidence. There's a lot more you can do. Let's go and get crazy with it. We're going to add a timer. So we could do a segment countdown timer. You'll want to label it. You'll want to put backdrops behind it and stuff. It's here. Let's do a system clock. Again, you make it what you want it to be. You can put these elements in here in whatever way you want. Let's see. What else can we do here? There's lots of cool stuff. Chord charts. You can make another shape and just say you were really hoping to have a star somewhere on your screen. It's here. Now let me refresh this because I don't think it's showing right. Multi-view. There we are. There's all of our pieces. And you build this the way you want to build it. This allows for you to see what's going on in front and in the back. Now, let's talk real quickly about why we did a live stream monitor. We can do different looks for what's on the live stream. So looks are up here underneath screen and edit looks. And so you can see our primary projection can view these things. Our live stream can view these things. We can also set specific themes for stuff, right? So we're going to go ahead and work on some themes. So I'm going to make a new theme based off of this selection. This is going to be blue. And then I'm going to make a new theme off of this selection. We're going to call this gray. All right. And if I were to do edit looks, and we say our primary projection is always going to show the blue theme, and our live stream is always going to show the gray theme. Right now, ooh, that didn't do anything. I wonder if it's not recognizing. It did change something with my text. It's not recognizing something. How about we modify our themes a little bit? Where's my editor? Here's my editor. Let's just make this theme have big text that's black. Yeah. And then let's have this theme be smaller text. That's why we'll leave it like it. Maybe we'll do red, make it stand out. And so, like, I could apply this theme to that slide. Something about that. And then let's just delete that backdrop. Let's take the rectangle out of there. Now when I apply a theme, gray theme, the text is missing. What am I doing wrong here? It's just text. Sorry, you could probably hear my brain catching fire here trying to do all this. Let's apply a theme. Maybe I need to do a new slide altogether. Would have been better if I'd have prepared, right? We're going to do a new slide. This is my new slide. We don't need this text box. We want this text box. Okay, now let's see if our looks work. Primary projection is going to have that look. The live stream projection is going to have that look. Okay, here we are. you can see that our looks are slightly different here. In fact, let me pull up our live stream. The live stream currently looks like this. When I click on that one slide, our primary projection currently looks like that. So you kind of get the idea that you now have two screens that look differently. One is an actual output to your projector, so this is going to be a theme based off of what you want the room to see. And then your live stream is going to be a theme based off of what you want your live stream to see. And we can assign that based off of the looks. And so the looks have a presentation theme that can be selected in here, and the theme can be different depending on your look. I know that's kind of a complex thing to wrap your head around, but the best thing to do would be to practice and try and just see what you get. By using looks and having a different theme for each of the looks, you could, for example, have a full screen slide in a room that people in the audience in the room can see. But then on your live stream, you could have a lower third slide that allows for the camera to be displayed behind it. That's the whole reason why you would want to have different themes applied to different slides based off of which output it goes to. So maybe this makes sense. I hope it does. If it doesn't, shoot me a message and I'll be happy to dig into that a little bit more. I'm trying to think what else is left to be configured. We could do macros, I guess. So let's add a new macro and let's call this stage teaching. And we'll do another macro and we'll call this stage announcements. So with a macro, you can assign anything you want. So we want to add an action. For this particular one, we want to change our stage display, and we want our confidence monitor to show our teaching confidence display, and we don't need to change our multi-view. Then if I right click on stage announcements, add action stage, I want that one to make my teaching or my confidence display to show live announcements. Right, so now if I click them, stage teaching has a display like this, stage announcements has a display like that. And of course, since I took my background down, you can't really see that there's much of a difference, but trust me, this one is the text only view. This display is a copy of the slide that's showing up front. And so these macros, all they're doing is they are making a change to our confidence display because that's the only item we've added. We could also add an action that says something like start a timer. So for the segment countdown timer, we could have it start. All that seems fine. If I were to click that, you can now see that we have a timer somewhere in the world that is counting down because we selected this macro, and you can see it's stacked multiple things on top of each other, and those macros can have a lot. They can even have, you could have a macro feeding another macro. So if you were to right click, add action, a macro, you could have it be one macro that fires another macro. You could have that macro also do a clear, clear all, for example. So when you click it, it would clear whatever the previous slide was if it was necessary. So we use macros to do a lot of things like selecting what the look of our slide might be. So the looks might change between worship and teaching, and so your live stream needs to show something different. So you would edit your look because the look affects what your live stream sees. Or you might change your stage display based off a macro. Now you can add a macro to a slide. So you just drag this guy up here, drop it on a slide. It's hard to see, but there's a little dark blue M up here because that's the color I chose. Let me change a different color. We'll make it yellow, brighter. Right, and so now this macro shows up here because we've dragged it on there. And if I just select this slide, that slide then goes active with the macro. I can move stage announcements to this slide. And again, let's make this a little bit more visible so you can see that the macro is actually on there. So now the green M indicates that there is a stage announcements option up here. So if I were to select the different slides, you can see in my preview, my confidence monitor is changing because I have selected a macro that is related, right? So those are the kind of things that we need to get set up. As far as what else is necessary to get you up and running, in this case I used placeholders for all of my screens. If you did that to set it up when you're offline, that's fine. The cool thing about placeholders is you can wait until you've plugged in all of your equipment and then just change the placeholders. So if we go into screens and configure screens, let's say now I've already figured out what I want to do with the live stream feed. I can pop in here under output and I can just switch it to something new. Yeah, hopefully I would have another monitor to switch it to, but you get the idea. You switch it to whatever monitor you intended it to go to, and then it sends the output there. I also wanted to talk about the live stream, and I had mentioned that this program we're recording right now is actually being recorded in ProPresenter. I want to show you how we did that. So if you come up here into the top right corner, you choose Live, Capture Settings. We can see our source for that capture should be Livestream, because I had a look that's made specifically for the live stream. My destination could be somewhere on my disk, so the local capture. RTMP, so if I wanted to broadcast straight to YouTube or Facebook or something, I just need my proper information for RTMP. Just load the information in here, or I can send it to Resi. Resi is a tool that we use here at Mercy Hill. It's awesome. It's built into ProPresenter. If you have a license for it, this is a good way to go. But let's just say we're going to record what we have going out to our live stream right here onto our disk. You can then tell it where you want to put it. You can tell it what codecs you want to use. Just be careful. Sometimes these codecs can be a heavy lift for the computer. And then you can say what quality you want to output. So based off your bandwidth, you might even want to do something small like a 720p 30 at 6 megabits instead of having a maximum output, just simply because your live stream or your disk speed or whatever it is might make a difference. And then you can route your audio. Right now we only have 2 channels for audio, so any audio that comes through ProPresenter, whether that's like a video that you're playing back, or if you feed a microphone into ProPresenter, that one piece of audio gets sent out to the live stream. Let me show you real quick. What I typically do is I go into our ProPresenter settings, I pop into audio, and usually I'll add additional channels. So when I added 2 more channels, if you can see over here to the right, we now have channels 3 and 4 being monitored. My main device is going to send audio out only to channels 1 and 2, and then if I come into our capture settings, the audio that goes to channels 3 and 4 could go out to the live stream. The reason why this can be helpful and important is that if you, let's say you brought your audio from your camera into ProPresenter as an audio input, you could route the microphone directly to channels 3 and 4, and then the only destination that receives that based off of routing is going to be your live stream, because now you've set things up so that the mic comes into 3 and 4, it goes out through 3 and 4. The live stream is looking for channels 3 and 4, and so the live stream gets the audio. Now you may also want to send your live stream the audio from channels 1 and 2, which would be like video playback within ProPresenter. It might be necessary to send that into your live stream as well, but it all depends on how audio is coming into ProPresenter as far as like how you want to send it out. Now I also would probably never want my microphone that's coming into ProPresenter for live stream purposes. I don't really want that to go back out to my sound system, so you know, it really is intended just for that live stream component. And so what I would do is only send my outputs channels 1 and 2 to my mixer or to my room for audio, and then allow 3 and 4 to be reserved for just live stream stuff. Audio routing can get complex, so I think that's about as deep as I'm going to go here. Once you have set up whatever you want for your capture settings, you can just hit Start Capture here, or you can hit Live and Start Capture up here, and it literally will just start counting, you know, with the time code to say we're sending something out to a live stream. Let me show you another cool thing that I do, and I do this at my Spanish campus. In my multi-view, I want to be able to know whether or not my live stream is active. So I'll choose Screens, Edit Layouts. I'm going to go to my multi-view, and I'm going to add this could be just some text, and I'm going to say on air live, something like that, right? It's pretty simple. I'll put it right here, I'll make it big, and we'll make it red. all that fun stuff, right? So we're on air live. Well, I don't want that just to show all the time. So what you can do is you can actually go into, where do we see this? Shape, visibility. Yeah, I think this is it. When all of the following conditions are met, I want this object on air live. Maybe that's right. Doesn't look right because I'm not live right now. Sorry again, this is one of those things I should have prepared in advance. Capture session, that's what I meant. Visibility, all of the following conditions are met. When capture session is active, it's going to show this. So let me go back to my show. You can see it's not here right now. If I were to go live, start capture, it is here. It's telling me that I'm live, and so I have another way of knowing that things are being recorded or streamed or whatever through ProPresenter. Stop capture, it goes away. This would only be relevant if you're using ProPresenter to either capture to disk or stream a live stream. Otherwise, I don't know why you would ever use that, but just know those kind of tools exist. Okay, one more thing that we do, and I'm sorry I didn't get on this earlier, is we send our lower third graphics out of ProPresenter using an alpha key so that there's a transparency. One thing is that in order to do an alpha key, it actually takes two outputs from your computer, and I believe it actually only works when you have like a Decklink or a Blackmagic external GPU type of device attached, and so I want to show you how to configure that. So if we go into screens and configure screens, primary projection is our first screen, and under this particular output you also have this alpha key option. If we turn on alpha key and we have to select one or two of the options, it's asking us to tell it which output, which we don't have one to give it, but we tell it which output is going to be the alpha key versus the other output, which is your not the alpha channel but the key channel. And so this little configuration allows for ProPresenter to send the alpha channel as a specific format that your video switcher can recognize. And then on your video switcher side of things, you have to configure the keying to look for that alpha channel. And so this is why it takes two outputs. One is for your primary source, that's your main fill, and then the other is the alpha key, that's the alpha channels. Your video switcher knows to look for those two things, and so you just have to configure that. I'm sure there's tutorials out on the web about how to do that, or you can poke around in here for a while and figure it. But just know that if you wanted to do alpha channel, it does take an additional input in order to make that work, and you set that up here under the first audience screen. Now you can find that there's no alpha option on any of your stage screens. They are just what they are. You can have multiples. Looks like if you had an alpha key for your second screen, that is possible. I think that's actually new. It used to only be just one screen that could do an alpha key, but now it looks like you can do multiples. So at any rate, if that is a way you need to do it, then do it that way. Another option that you could do is on your live stream, you could do a screen color and do something like a green screen, blue, whatever. You pick your color. You might want to be super specific about it. But when you do that, you can see I made this screen like that. When your live stream output through just a single channel goes to your video switcher, then on your video switcher you could say key out everything that's green, and you'd want it to be that a specific color, and it will make that green into a transparency. That's how you would be able to do just like a single channel output instead of a two channel output. So if you find yourself running into a limitation, you can get around it by using a chroma key or color keying instead of alpha keying. So anyway, I think that probably covers everything regarding our setup here. Now, being that we already had a previous ProPresenter system set up in our campus, we probably also have themes and these stage displays and all that stuff is probably already set up for us. So I just kind of want to show you where you'd find that to be able to just bring in our pre-built stuff into the new system. So this is outside of ProPresenter. In fact, we want to quit ProPresenter if we do this. If you come into your Finder under Documents, you're going to find your ProPresenter folder, and I always use List View. Inside a ProPresenter folder, these are some files that you can literally just copy onto a USB drive or AirDrop over to your new system. And when you replace these folders with the ones from your existing system, all of these items come into your new ProPresenter setup. I don't know if that makes sense, but essentially you're just taking the contents of the ProPresenter folder from the old system, replacing the contents of this folder on the new system, and then everything that you had on your old system comes over to here. Now this may vary depending on whether you use going from a Windows system to a Mac. I'm not sure. I haven't tried that. I usually am pretty selective about what I bring over, and so for example, one thing I really need is my themes. This thing has that black and that blue theme that we had just created, but we have other themes that we really love, and I miss having them here, and so I would want to go to my old system, export. Not really even export. I just need to grab those theme folders and drop them in here into the right place. And when they show up in the right place, the next time that you open up ProPresenter, they would show up in there. And so that's one way to make a migration from an old system to a new one. There is another built-in migration if you go into settings. Gosh, I haven't used this in a while. Sync. You can give a location. It could be like a OneDrive or Google Drive or something like that, or it could even just be a file on the computer as a place where it will store these items, and that's kind of outside of ProPresenter's file format. It's a special place, and if you were to sync that up, basically by saying I want to sync files up to the repository and replace all the files in the repository, you would do this from the old computer. You sync them up, hit sync, it puts all these things in this place, and then on the new computer you would want to reverse and say sync files down from the repository, tell it where those files are, and it will bring them in when you hit the sync button. That's sort of like a built-in backup system, and if you use cloud-based storage that's always linked to a mounted drive on your computer, it is possible that you can do that syncing wirelessly. I've found like through troubleshooting with ProPresenter people, they always want to try to do that with physical media instead of like cloud-based media. So just keep that in mind. I think that's all I've got for this time around. I realized I thought I was talking to you at the screen, but I missed on that. Yeah. Anyway, realizing I was on the wrong camera, maybe you missed all that last step, but message me if you did. At any rate, that's the quick overview of getting things set up. It's rough and dirty, and I apologize that the quality may have been a little rough, but hopefully that gets you the concept of things that you need to be thinking about as you are setting up your new system. All right, enjoy.